Minister, thanks for your time today. Spoke in the House this morning concerning the Green Paper on transport. Explain to our viewers, what is the Green Paper?
Dennis, the Green Paper is an accumulation of ideas, comments, suggestions, criticisms with regard to transportation in the country. We had our highest response to a survey, I think, in our history. We had over 2,000 people responded, locals, and I think we had something like 16,000 tourists who gave their comments through the Bermuda Tourism Authority. So it's quite a thick document. It's a lot of information and detail in there, and I would encourage everyone to give it a good read. But it concentrates on all transportation in the country, whether it be buses, taxis, ferries, any kind of modes of transportation. It also talks about the state of the roads. Our drivers, how are they driving? What can we do to make people think a little bit more safely as they move about the country?
Any surprises in the report, in the paper?
Not really. I think most Bermudians are well aware of the driving habits and some of the challenges that we face, whether it be taxis late at night, whether it be challenges with the bus schedules and rosters, whether it be challenges that we have at the cruise piers when we're in full flow. So I think everybody's quite aware. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank everyone that did participate. Because I think that feedback was important. The good thing is that you will know also that I tabled a motion today, and we will have a full debate in the House sometime in June, and that should be it should be very interesting to get all parliamentarians' views on the Green Paper and where they think the country should be going.
Where does the government see us going in the near future, and what plans do you see for further down the line?
Well, I think what I see in the future is technology. You'll know that the largest taxi service in the world doesn't own a taxi, Uber. They have an app, right? The largest hotel association in the world doesn't own a hotel. That's Airbnb. So, that's where the world is going. We have I think remain stagnant with regard to transportation, how we move about in Bermuda, and we'll see those changes. I think technology is going to play a very big part in where we go in the future. I think this government has to start looking at, and I talked about that this morning in my statement, is we have to start looking ahead 5, 10, 20 years, and where are we going to be?
The subject of Uber has come up before. Bermuda has an app in the form of Hitch that sort of crosses over between being traditional taxi service and having the technology available. Is government looking at the possibility of allowing Uber to operate in Bermuda?
Well, I wouldn't say that we're looking into it, but that is one of the things that people talk about, and I'm certain that we will have that discussion in more depth in the coming weeks and months.
Just finished to wrap up with Minister Birch talking about the docks. Good news for the boats?
It's very good news, and I'd like to piggyback on Colonel Birch and congratulate all the staff, the Bermudian staff in particular, and I think it was almost 100% Bermudians up there in Dockyard. They were working on a very, very tight timeline, and they accomplished that. And there were some people that were really worried that we wouldn't have that pier ready in time. So I will certainly add my congratulations to all that were involved. But the cruise lines love Bermuda, and we love them. And we will do everything in our power to nurture that relationship we have with the cruise lines and continue to support it wholeheartedly.
Airport's well on the way to being built. Have you been in conversation with Minister Birch concerning the causeway, and do you have any concerns about it yourself?
Without giving too much away, Dennis, there has been talk about the causeway. You'd be well aware that when we were in opposition, I reminded the then government of the day that when it was first announced that the airport was going to be built by Acorn, it was also talk about redoing the causeway. And that was in that price, and then it dropped off. But I can tell you that there are some conversations being had about the causeway. You'll know that Colonel Birch is already waiting for studies and information to come back on the bridges going into St. George's. But some conversations are being held, and I hope to have some news in the near future.
Focusing back on transport, do we have too many vehicles on Bermuda's roads?
Actually, I think we have about between 5,000 and 6,000 less vehicles than we had in 2008. Some people may say that there are more, but I think that number is due to many factors that we're aware of, people leaving the island and whatnot. So I mean, how much is too much? We're several thousand down on the peak number that we had several years ago.
The introduction of the rental car/bike units seems to be very quite popular with tourists and some locals. Are there any plans, do you see any plans in the future to allowing locals to own those types of vehicles?
That's been floated as well. I had a question from one of the car owners just last week. And they suggested, look, maybe we should consider incorporating the mini cars into households in some way or another. So, like any other idea or suggestion, I'll look at it. I think it's worth looking at, because we know that just about all our road deaths come from bikes. But you have other things to think about too. If we all of a sudden eliminated bikes, what's the traffic going to be like? Then you have parking issues, whether it be in residential areas, whether it's in the city. So, but conversations can be had.
Looking at the bus situation, there's obviously a need for more buses to add to the fleet. You've spoken about technology moving forward. At what stage does the conversation and the ordering change from old school diesel engines to electric?
Well, those conversations are actually being held and quite seriously. We put out an RFI a few months ago. We've received all those. We're in the process of vetting those and preparing an RFP. And that RFP will include electric buses. And we will look at it very seriously. You'll notice, you may have noticed today in my ministerial statement that maybe it's time for us to just pick a drop-dead date, and we have no more fossil fuel vehicles in the country. We might be one of the very first in the world, even though I think a couple of our European counterparts have already set some targets. But that is something that is high on the agenda too. And I did suggest that maybe government start by taking the lead.
Other than the ministerial industrial units, the government has a fair-sized fleet of cars.
Yes, we do.
Are you looking at maybe introducing electric vehicles into that fleet sometime?
Yeah, in fact, I know that when we were in government previously, then Minister of Work, Derek Burgess, had an electric car, which I think is probably still running today. So yes, I think we certainly have enough cars in government where we could, if we want to start the initiative, we could do it.
Slightly off topic, very attractive accessories you ran today. You want to talk to us a little bit about?
Oh yes, these straight from Ghana, from my good friend, Mr. Quentin Sherlock Jr. As you probably know, he spends a lot of time there, and I think he's living there just about full time, and he's doing some great things with the young people and assisting there, not only with sport but with schooling. And of course, he sent these all the way for me, and I would certainly suggest if anybody would like anything similar to reach out to Junior or reach out to me. I'll give you his contact number, and we'll see if we can facilitate that.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right.